Hi guys, this is the lesson video, and on this video I'm going to show you the examples on our notes in 3B, example number 3 and example number 4, okay, on our notes. So our example number 3 on our notes is we're asked to simplify the radical 378, so the square root of 378, okay? And if you were to put square root 378 in the calculator, you would not get a perfect square answer, okay? And so we're gonna simplify those kinds of radicals. We don't want the decimals, we wanna keep it in radical form. And that way, when we keep it in radical form, it's going to allow us to combine radicals and do more things with our math expressions. Okay? So let's go ahead and simplify this square root of 378 using prime factoring on a factor tree. So we'll use our smallest prime. Now remember, our primes are our numbers that can only be divided by themselves and 1. We'll always start with that smallest prime. So if 2 works, we'll put 378 divided by 2 in the calculator, and our answer is going to be an even number, no decimal, right? And if we get an even number answer, we know that that works as a factor. So when we do that, when we divide 378 by 2, we'll get an answer of 189, and our 2 is prime. So we don't need to keep going down that branch, but we want to keep reducing on this branch, okay? So we're going to try another prime. It's not even, so we're going to try our next prime, which is a 3, okay? So when we divide 189 by 3, we'll get 63 as our answer, and since that's a whole number, we know 3 is a good factor, and that's our next branch, okay? And we're gonna go ahead and divide 63 by 3 again. And when we do that, our answer is 21, and since 21 is a whole number, we know 3 was a good factor. That's another prime factor, right? We'll go 3 again, and we'll get 7, which is another prime. So these are all of my prime factors. That means I can rewrite the square root of 378 as 2 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 7. And because it's a square root, or we have an invisible index of 2, right? We need 2 of the same term on the inside to solve that part of our radical, or to break out those 2 terms. So we have 2 3s there, but guess what? This guy doesn't have a buddy, no buddy for this 3, no friend for that 7. So all of those terms that don't have a match they have to stay inside the radical. All right? So when our 2 3s bust out, we're really solving the square root of 9, aren't we? So 2 on the inside, we'll have 1 on the outside. It'll be multiplying our radical. Okay, and on the inside, we'll have 2 times 3 times 7. And before we call it our answer, we want to multiply everything again, okay? And we know that 2 times 3 is 6 times 7 is 42, so our answer will be 3 root 42. So our square root of 378 simplifies to 3 root 42. And this is going to be an important skill when we move into our radical expressions, okay? So that's how it simplifies. Let's go ahead and do example number 4 on our notes, okay? Example number 4 on our notes. So for example number 4, we have another negative. We have the square root of negative 180. The square root of negative 180. That's example number 4. And as soon as we see that negative inside our radical, right away, we want to bring that negative out as an I. That's going to come out and become an I. And this is how you show that work. Once your negative comes out as an I, don't forget about that I. We're going to go ahead and we're going to factor our 180 into primes, okay? When you have a number like 180, try solving that as a square root on your calculator to check to see if it's a perfect square. You'll know it's a perfect square if you go square root 180 and you get a number that's not a decimal. But 180 is not a perfect square, so we need to go ahead and start using our factor tree to find our prime factors, okay? We'll go ahead and start with our smallest prime, which is 2. And when we put 180 divided by 2 in our calculator, our answer is a whole number, so we know 2 is a good factor. And we'll get 2 times 90. And we'll keep going with our 2 until we can't divide evenly. We always want to divide evenly. So 90 divided by 2 goes in 45 times. It's an even number, so 2 is a good factor again. But now we don't have an even number, so we won't be able to use 2 again. We'll get a decimal for our answer, so we want to go to our next prime, which is 3. And when we divide 45 by 3, we're going to get 15. And since that's a whole number, that's a good factor. So we'll go 3 again, and we'll get a 5. And both these numbers are primes. Okay? So when we simplify the square root of 180 to its prime factors, okay, it's I, that's the negative that came out, right? And then on the inside we have 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 5. And because we have an invisible index of 2 for the square root, we need 2 of the same term on the inside for them to break out, okay? So we have 2 terms that are the same there, 2 terms that are the same there, but our 5 does not have a match. Okay, so on the outside, when our terms break out, remember, 2 on the inside, we'll have 1 on the outside. They're multiplying on the inside. They're also going to be multiplying on the outside. Okay, so we'll have a 2 there, multiplying a 3, multiplying our I, okay? And then on the inside, we'll have that 5 left on the inside. Again, before we say it's our answer, we want to multiply all those terms again. So 2 times 3 is 6. Then we have our I, and then root 5, okay? And that is our answer for example number 4, okay? Example number 4. All right, for the video for example number 5, 6, and 7, go ahead and change to the next video for 3B. All right, thanks guys.